Hi guys, I'm Gannon. I'm a blockchain tech lead for the New Ventures Blockchain team. I work for PwC. I'm based in Belfast, but kind of represent PwC UK and the rest of the firm globally. I do a lot of use case exploration in various things, including blockchain and other emerging tech. So I'm very interested to see how AI and IoT kind of comes to the fore here.
Okay, for those that have not seen my presentation before, I'm Robin Pilling. I'm working at Daimler Financial Service on what we so-call the DOT Ready program that will ultimately become a blockchain, mobility blockchain network where we want to onboard different partners to help us shaping support network for mobility and financial services that we rely on in the future.
Hi, my name is Flach. I'm head of partnerships of Women in Tech Revolution. We're the first community of women and men working towards gender parity in Industry 4.0. It's very fitting to the topic today. There's only 17% of people working in tech that are women. So I think you can see that at the conference here today, so that's our goal. Equally, I am head of communications at Cadre. We're a blockchain tech company for enterprise. And we've built our blockchain platform from stack for businesses and for enterprises. And we're all about interoperability, which also fits very well with emerging technologies.
Hi, my name is Yakeen Prabdial. I'm the MD for Flach. We're a disruptive tech company with a consultative engagement. We actually solve business problems using the very technologies we are going to speak about today.
Okay, so thank you. So today we're going to be talking. So if anyone has any questions during the course of this, please raise your hand. So I don't want it to be interactive as much as possible. So we're talking about the interaction between AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, big data, and blockchain. And maybe it'd be a good idea to start by defining our terms. So what is the difference between AI and machine learning? And I believe you've got a fairly strong opinion about that.
I do. So I think the academic taxonomy says that machine learning is a subcategory of AI, which sounds all well and good. We're on a slightly different paradigm from our learnings and engagements with ARM and Qualcomm, as well as the big telco companies. We find that machine learning seems to be more gravitating towards edge computing, which in today's tech industry seems to be revolving on Python. Whereas AI is solving specific problems around uncertainty, around looking for needles in haystacks, around large big data, and of course, creating decisions in that spirit of uncertainty. So there's a dichotomy of server-side and client-side compute.
Anything to add?
Disagree violently, please.
Yeah, possible. That's okay.
We've actually had quite a few discussions at Information Age about this, and there is one of my colleagues has said, AI and machine learning is one and the same. And I've always argued, no, machine learning is a subset of AI. I've never been able to agree on that one. Okay, so turning to the Internet of Things, what can blockchain bring to the story? Can it change the way we consume applications, for example? And if you have a connected device with its own identity, can it become sort of like a node on the blockchain, as it were? Do anyone want to kick this discussion off?
We have seen, and I want to refer to the colleagues from Bosch that have presented their story on enabling IoT devices by blockchain to become seamless autonomous agents. So what we have seen at the moment is we have a lot of devices out there that can already communicate, but they are not yet, and we don't have the standards yet to fully integrate them into any kind of services, especially when it comes platform independent. And I think this is what blockchain can help with. It's not the performance of the device, but how you can manage those devices, how those devices can interact with business applications, as any transaction in the, let's say, internet is in the end about trust. I provide an example that we're looking into with Bosch into at the moment. It's seamless parking. So we have a car. Our car has its sensors. So and sensors are all managed in our Daimler platform, or somehow in our Daimler cars. Now this Daimler vehicle somehow talks with a Bosch parking space sensor. So the question is how to make them interact. And this is where we see by giving devices digital like identities, including signatures, to help managing transactions in a business fashion that makes it easier for businesses to cooperate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I guess to kind of build on to that, but I think it's very interesting that there's a series of other kind of connected devices. I know that there was a startup also called, I think it was 21, whose idea was to provide a mining rig into all of your kind of household appliances and stuff like that. So while you're at home, you could be generating your own kind of crypto income by contributing to the community or the blockchain network itself. But on top of that, I suppose connected devices that almost have their own identity could interact on your behalf to kind of plug into a blockchain application that says that my car has driven X amount of miles, or the engine needs repaired. If these types of and we are kind of moving that way in terms of all the components of your car or of an aircraft or whatever, they will have their own kind of life cycle and lifespan and data that contributes to its own life cycle. So if you were able to have those connected devices contribute their data, then you have a more precise data points to be able to leverage. Yes, this combustion engine has done X miles, or it's used up all of its oil, it needs to have things replaced. And as a connected device in itself, it could auto kind of renew itself, or it could say, my warranty is about to expire, you need to go and get some new insurance, things like that.
So does that mean that blockchain could sort of replace your service record?
I think it can certainly be a contributing factor towards it, yeah. So if you have your insurance that's applied to your car, if you have your driving license or even the DVLA records that are all attached to your car, and you get your identity, you own that car. At the point at which you kind of, if you sell your car, if you buy a car from someone else, then you effectively could have that kind of digital record of everything that's kind of happened to it in its life cycle. I personally don't drive, but my wife does, and she has a lot of certifications and files that she needs to file away. And then whenever it comes to looking for them, it's where on earth did I put that stuff? Whereas if you have all of that kind of stuff digitized, and that doesn't mean that you need to have a blockchain for that, but certainly digitizing those records and having them at your disposal or attached to a connected device or an entity, then you can kind of track and trace the life cycle of your automobile or your motorbike or indeed your house.
So is that the future? So is that the future of Daimler then, Robin?
I think what is really, of course, we need, I've mentioned this on behalf of transactions of the owner, right? Mm-hmm. Because a device cannot behave as a natural person. But by an economic transaction, it's kind of does now. So, for example, if I want my car to do some, let's say, transactions with a user, this car needs somehow needs to be allowed to do so. So this is on behalf of the owner. So if I can tell this car, you are allowed now to, when I am at work, you can open this door to anybody who is older than 18, definitely transactions will increase. By transactions increasing, businesses will increase. So this is part of it. What came to my mind was also interesting that comes now more to data and data privacy. Think about all these cleaning robots that drive around in your house. So what do they do? At the moment they are kind of storing where you live in a cloud, I expect, yeah? So that they are able to learn, and then we come back to AI, they are able to learn how to, in the best way, clean your house. But actually you don't want necessarily to have a platform know how you live, where you live. This comes also to all this, I think, what is the Google company Nest, right, with those thermostats that use thermostats to actually track the whole behavior of what you do by machine learning algorithms, by putting thermostats in your house to somehow give your customer a better user experience. And this is something I think where blockchain can help to say, once you buy a device, you own it. Yeah? And this whole data that will kind of be generated by devices you own is connected to you as a personal identity. So this is interesting.
I think what's very interesting about the previous use case on data being stored from cars, the Mobi Alliance is a very good example of where blockchain and IoT in an automotive framework is actually creating the foundation for these case studies and getting the industry buy-in. And so we're finding a lot of use cases coming out that are solving some very specific certification and digital data sovereignty problems. We also noticed that, to your point, the legal entity of a device, and more importantly, its commercial entity, will create a new type of know your thing type model as opposed to KYC. So your KYT model will effectively drive the ability to create
KYC,
know your customer.
no customer.
Yeah.
And what was the other acronym you just used?
KYT, know your thing. So by definition, if we can
KYS, know your stuff.
know your stuff.
You better know your thing. Yeah?
Thing or ting?
Exactly. And if we look at IoT being a heterogeneous, I mean, IoT 1.0 was pretty much where a single vendor put in the edge device, communication, and the decision making. In 2.0, 3.0, and Industry X.0, we're going to find these heterogeneous use cases where a large number of things and actors in the value chain don't trust each other. Furthermore, we're going to find heterogeneous edge devices and heterogeneous actors at the top pulling out data for reasons for privacy that we can't control. So using blockchain as a means to be able to control almost an API-less framework becomes quite interesting. And I think we've got to start to look at the ability to create low friction use cases that are going to be micro output. Let's be honest, it's going to be based around the money transaction. And they're not going to be big lumpy things. So tokenization of the capability of these devices, data as a service, sensor as a service, starts to become very real when we talk about blockchain.
Sure.
And I'd like to just take it back and up a step, looking at the fourth industrial revolution, looking at the definition of what that is. So that is the fusion of all the technologies that have been developed in the past, with the first revolution of steam engines, second electrics and automation by the assembly line, and third computing information technology. And the fourth is the fusion of all of those together. It's not just a continuation of those before, because with the third there were computers, but now we have actually computers that are being connected, smart devices that are talking to each other. And second, the fact that I feel that one thing that combines all of these is data. So for me, looking at the Internet of Things, looking at the smart devices that we've got, whether that be tracking your heartbeat, your health, whether that be your computer automatically sending off itself off to repair, or Alexa listening to something that you're doing at home. So much data is being collected, and that's done through IoT. Then looking at data analysis done through big data and analytics, and then that's where blockchain comes in, looking at how that data can be stored securely and privately, with all the cryptographics coming in, and the security and the accountability and so forth. So I think that's the real added value here.
Okay, great. So when it comes, when we spoke the other day, Anna, you said that you've got some practical examples of blockchain and AI and things working together. Can you work this?
Sure. So one example is quite a simple example. It's a startup that's building our blockchain tech. They're called Deputy, and they're all about providing functionality for the COO function, and so helping with admin tasks. And so they use both technologies, AI and blockchain, and they use AI to essentially answer any questions that anyone may have in the company. It's essentially a Slack bot, so you could ask the question, when's Hannah back from holiday, or what were the conclusions of the last board meeting or whatever. And they're using blockchain technology as a corporate memory. And why do they need blockchain here? Well, not so much because of the decentralization, as you can imagine, because it's used company internal, but more for the accountability, for the fact that the data is stored in a secure fashion, and then it can go back at a later stage and say, yes, that was actually the resolution of that board meeting. That information has not been tampered with. So that's a really simple example of where you can say, blockchain is a database, it's just a decentralized database in a shared ledger. Of course you can use other technology as an extra layer for that.
Okay, that's interesting. So corporate memory.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay.
I think that's quite interesting, certainly from a just in general, from an audit trail or audit record perspective.
Exactly.
So like everybody internally, like if you swipe a pass to go through the door, all those things that kind of prove that you who are in possession of the thing that allows you to access that thing can be recorded as well. So that, there is that kind of transparency and accountability, which is one of those enablers that blockchain can give you.
So the one example we've seen is where corporate memory is quite important in the pharmaceutical industry. One of our clients uses that to do permission-based sharing with the notary and regulators. So when they have to do audit trials and drug recalls, which is a challenging but common practice, corporate memory stored in a private chain where you can request for a notary to come and review makes that frictionless. So it's a very valid use case.
Absolutely.
Okay, so AI/machine learning, as I understand it, is very hungry. It's very hungry for data, and the data is normally stored in a centralized source. Whereas blockchain is often criticized as a form of storage. So also the standardization is a big issue. I think, Robin, you had some thoughts about that. Can you enlarge on that?
I think what's really important and what needs to be distinguished, at least from where we look into it, is you have a network level, so there's one level, and you have a data and data storage level, and then you have a compute level. Often when people talk about blockchain and storage, so they are talking about putting actual data onto the blockchain as it would be kind of a new way of cloud. Yeah? So I don't believe that this will happen. It's not economical. Blockchain is not made for that. So I think blockchain is more something that helps on a network level, on a protocol level, and that can help to allow how we access data and how we can share data or access to data that is somewhere stored in a decentralized fashion. As for example, right now, say we're all using our mobile phones, and they are not yet connected to Google something photos. Then there are photos on there. So if and blockchain could help to, as a decentralized protocol, to connect to any device that is out there, and by your permission, use all the photos that are out there in a decentralized way to have AI.
Okay, so blockchain for identifying data, but not for storing it. Is that a fair summary? Okay.
I think we've got a very similar view. We separate it as a control plane and user plane. So we see blockchain as a decentralized technology that provides you control plane space. So authentication, authorization, federation, identity, sovereign, immutability, and then this goes on. But on the user plane, we also use decentralized databases. So not blockchain specifically, IPFS, others, they are very common capabilities that work in decentralized databases. But again, separating user plane and control plane is pretty similar to the way you described.
And I think what is also on top important, especially for a car maker like us, and maybe also for Bosch. You need to integrate horizontals and verticals, and we rely heavily on the networks like the telecoms, where we kind of that help us to exchange our data, right, on a network level. So they also need to be included and understood from a network perspective to understand where distributed technology and blockchain really helps. So for some data it may help, for others it won't. And this is what I think is somehow not understood and not yet tested, because we at least I have not seen anything that proves that blockchain can scale to the extent where like Amazon Web Services or other centralized platforms have scaled. And to be frank, they offer good services, or maybe the best services for AI. And even better to say, if you have a centralized state as China, within only having that as a technology or network resource, they came up with the best AI algorithms. Yeah? Where I give the word to somebody else. Think personally, blockchain and AI is really interesting. Is we don't really know when it comes to AI what happens behind. So when we run an AI algorithm on some data, often we cannot trace back to what happens. So when it comes to AI on encrypted data sets, this is something that I found really, really interesting. You may know more about it. I'm not an AI expert, but health data is one of this examples.
I think that's a really good point. It's about the fact that AI and all that decision making is quite opaque. So you could actually track back with the blockchain, save all that data. And also on a bigger level, if you look at all the data that's being collected on us personally, online and offline, where we are, which purchase decisions we make, who we talk to, going back to digital and self-sovereign identity, and here blockchain again could bring value in the fact that consumers will have control of their own data and manage that themselves and maybe even monetize it themselves. So really saying yes, AI as a technology is opaque. A lot of data is being collected at the moment. Companies are the ones benefiting from that, and you drawing conclusions and making money from your own data. How can blockchain come in with your personal wallet? You can manage your identity and have those digital assets on there, and great, make money with it as well.
I think one of the biggest challenges with AI is that the end result, the decisions that you see, are actually not point decisions, they're trends. So they're averages of long, big data farms, where reverse engineering that to create an audit trail today is near impossible. Look at a lot of the analytical misuse that's happened in the press, and one can get a good idea of political swing just by using the information and having an unnatural bias in the AI algorithm. By creating breadcrumbs and provenance using blockchain as a control plane that kind of follows through, doesn't do any of the computing, but just simply acts as a watchdog through that exercise, allows you to go forwards and backwards through the time machine.
And that's exactly the audit trail again, and the value is not the decentralization, it's the audit trail of cryptography, isn't it? Timestamping.
Exactly. Because one of the biggest challenges when you come to AI and human beings is the unnatural bias that we as human beings unfortunately can't remove the shackles of. And that's the thing that needs multiple sets of review and peer review eyes to make sure that we can actually create fair compute cycles.
Which fits in really nicely with women in tech. I think there was an example where Amazon used artificial intelligence for their recruitment. And so their artificial intelligence went through the past 10 years of recruitment and analyzed candidates according to the criteria needed for their specific job. And for some reason, men were rated more highly than women, based on the past experience, based on the bias that was actually in the machine learning.
Or who wrote the code.
Exactly, yeah.
I think on top of that, though, you also need to think about who is programming the AI as well, right? So like AI itself is trending, it's based on its patterns, but somebody somewhere is teaching them that. So I think again that type of audit trail mentality where those kind of checkboxes are there along the way that basically says if you arrived at a decision, what were those influences that actually drew you to that, and if something was proven wrong, then you can kind of backtrack to there to kind of work out, right, well actually that's a pattern that we now need to kind of get rid of or relearn or change. But it kind of influences, from a data perspective, how do you draw those conclusions and the various kind of factors that went into that as well. I think Anna, there was something you said earlier on actually about people having their own data as well, and I think that's very important as well. Everybody's kind of thinking, yes, Bitcoin, blockchain, I have my own private keys, I can control myself, I am my own bank. But what happens if you lose your keys? What happens there? And I think there is like a danger as well where if you do kind of delegate access of your private keys to a bot, we were talking delegating access and stuff earlier on as well. What happens to those? What happens to your identity if you lose those keys? Do you cease to exist? No, absolutely. But what does that mean in terms of your financials, your access to your patient data, all that kind of stuff? I guess on top of that, just before I ramble on a bit too much, in terms of the actual data you want to be able to monetize that yourself, you should also be able to rescind access to that as well. So, like giving people access to their own digital portfolios, their own wallets, their own data is great. But why can't I sell that to companies who want to be able to build research on the back of my actual data as well, instead of Cambridge Analytica harvesting it themselves and all that kind of stuff in order for their own purposes. I think there's every opportunity for us to kind of reclaim our own data and monetize that for ourselves.
This idea of losing the key is quite scary, isn't it? I mean, I have enough problems as it is persuading my bank that I am.
You lose your house keys and stuff.
I never know what my secret words are or anything, but
I mean, there's cold storage, etc. But yeah, I agree. It's scary.
I think there's definitely mechanisms that people are coming up with, in terms of being able to secure that. You have your hardware wallets and stuff like that where you can kind of store stuff off. But I definitely think that is still a challenge in the blockchain industry where you have, that user experience problem where you don't just say forgot my passwords and then you get an email with your private keys back, right? The whole idea is you own that stuff yourself. You have to take responsibility for that. I think that also begs the question that as tech savvy as most of us may be in the room, what does happen if you lose that, or what does that happen to my brand?
or if you have an access to new visual memory, or you get dementia or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a user experience perspective, like if you are now in charge of all of that stuff yourself, there's bound to be some mechanism where you almost delegate some of that access off to somebody. Perhaps not your bank because you don't trust your bank anymore or whatever, but there are services there that are coming to the fore.
Yeah.
And I think that's that ecosystem play, that marketplace that people want to build around you, around your data, around your processes, to be able to kind of slot in the utilities that are there, as opposed to there will just be one blockchain to rule them all. There will be all these different kind of blockchain applications and systems in place.
So I think there's one disruptive tech that probably wasn't clearly articulated before, but it sits very nicely with what you're saying, which is digital twins. So the digital twin concept has been around for many years, which is probably why it's only rebubbling itself right now. But if you can trust and have sovereignty in a digital copy of a slice of your persona, which might not be the slice that you want your bank to see or your Facebook to see, but that's a different slice, then that digital twin could effectively be represented and well represented, but now represented using blockchains.
Absolutely, yeah. Like that delegated identities, like how many online personas do you have? Like I use Twitter for my more professional stuff. I use Facebook to kind of share my photos with my family. So if you have those kind of different online, well, just my family, and then where do you want to go in terms of people's? People have the right to be deleted, I guess, in terms of GDPR. Have their information deleted. They also have the right to be anonymous as well. So I think that's a very good kind of analogy around.
So you might end up finding that, just extending this to IoT, you might find that digital twin or that profile that you've carved of yourself as a very complex individual might also apply to things. So you could find, for example, a sensor or a complex device that is doing air pollution management can offer a slice of its data, which is the humidity sensor, for another thing in the smart city ecosystem to consume, but it only wants to harvest that digital profile out to a marketplace. And that model, we'll find very complex devices coming across very quickly.
Yeah, well, it's a digital thing. People and things only want to give away certain parts of data that are needed for what you need to have, right? And that's kind of down to your whole data privacy thing as well. You know, in America, you only need to know that somebody's over 21 to go and buy a drink at the bar. But by showing your ID, you're actually giving them your photo, your address, your date of birth. that barman doesn't need to know all of those.
I think from my point of view, we will get there. But the question is how we as human beings, and how we get to another philosophical question is how we adopt it. I mean, I started with crypto and all this stuff. I did all my cold wallets because I wanted to be 100% secure, but who in this room did it on like cold wallets? There's a cold wallet in his house where he has all his cryptos on. And this is the same thing with personal data. I want to have this because maybe I'm a tech nerd and I want to put my whole kind of private data into some kind of box that is where only I know where it is and that only I can access, and make sure that somehow I will never forget how to access it, but it is not as user-friendly as you give it into a hand of a central controller, right?
As a convenience mechanism, really, right?
Yeah, as a convenience mechanism that can provide you a nice customer journey and a nice interface all around this, help you to manage your identity, what else comes to that. You know? So I think this is an interesting thing. Yeah, so it will be there. I mean, we see companies doing that. I can mention Riddle & Code. They are pretty advanced in all this stuff on the hardware side. But how do we, and this is with blockchain often, how do we really want to have this, and how do we really need it? This is some philosophy.
Just to finish off that, really, you know, like I love thinking about the various problems that could exist around like the whole digital key stuff. If I lose my Bitcoin wallet, or if I die, how do I put that in my will for that to go to my wife or for whatever? You know, like what are the practicalities of digital wallets and private keys whenever it comes to delegated access and stuff like that as well? I think that type of thing kind of pushes the boundaries of the user experience, and these are things that do happen today, but they don't necessarily happen in terms of crypto and stuff like that.
Okay, that's great. So look, it's 5:05 now. So I think we can pack it up soon. But do we have any questions?
You made me think of about 10 questions, but I'll try and limit it to 2, if that's all right. The digital wallet thing, that's interesting in terms of inheritance or not losing it. Can you do things like a safe that have, I don't know, a time lock on it, or there can be a second trusted key somewhere that can't be used until the death certificate goes.
I think you have to talk to
something like that.
experts, but they call it revoke mechanisms. So you somehow can get back to your data if you lose even the device or something like this. I'm not an expert on that, but
I mean, it's the ultimate backup. No one's going to want to die just.
Wouldn't you just add the private key to your will on paper?
You could do.
You could do. But no one thinks of it, right?
Yeah, it's not like writing down your password, right? You don't really want to do that, or you kind of have to put it in 2 different places, 2 different safety deposit boxes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
It goes back in time, doesn't it, really? From electric to completely paperless.
Exactly, yeah.
and you need to trust us.
Anyway, on a more positive living note,
You can. I believe you will.
yeah.
I could also say that like so delegated stuff on multi-signature transactions and stuff definitely allows multiple parties to authorize transactions. Yes.
I think our AI avatar will live forever anyway, won't it? So.
Maybe. Artificial intelligence solving the blockchain integration problems. Can we actually have an artificial intelligence program that can solve those problems? Does that make sense? In the sense of, learning chess. Now they have computer programs that can be whatever, the best masters in the world and so on. But if it had to even separately just do every move by random chance, that would still take ages because of the number of variables. So you're using intelligence to narrow it down, use risk analysis to say this is most likely to work, test it a few times, yes it does. So when it comes to, some of us here will be trying to develop new ideas in blockchain and all the rest, and of course we work with some of these other companies and they're like, well, we don't know how much it will cost, we don't know how long it will take, and some of us out there thinking, if only there was an artificial intelligence program that at least could hammer the ideas and say, right, this won't work because of this blockage, or actually this direction is going to work better than that direction.
This is the killer app.
Well, it probably is, but my question is, are you aware of anything that's going along those lines?
I mean, for us, I would not say blockchain, because you need to think about the network, right? So, if it's a decentralized network, it's then about decision making in a decentralized network. So, and there definitely you can use AI to test whether a decentralized approach is the right approach. That's what I can say. Yeah, we can now, for the smart parking, you have this car, you drive around, then you call out to a parking station, are you available? You need some agent-based models, and then you get again into this, and we see whether this decentralized works or not. And this is what we now do in order to see, because you're in the car, you have different data sources. And some of these data sources are actually very good if they are stored on Mercedes-Benz backend. But others, you need this trust, and then decentralized structures really make sense. Because we are very proud to be Mercedes from a brand, and we created a brand that at least our users trust. But a Volkswagen or BMW, others may probably not trust us on certificates that are controlled by us. And so this is, that is where you definitely can use some AI and machine learning things to identify whether it's centralized better or decentralized. Game theory is a big thing here.
Okay, I think it's.
Yeah, okay.
I think that unless anyone's got any burning questions, maybe we should let Dana. Any burning questions? Any life or death questions?
Going once.
All right, thank you.